Eli McAllister hadn't cried in 4 years. Not when they buried his daughter. Not when winter took everything else. But when he found the child in his barn that morning, curled between hay bales, lips blue frost on her eyelashes, eating oats meant for horses, his hands shook so bad he dropped the lantern. She looked up at him with eyes that had stopped hoping for mercy. "Please, mister. I ain't stealing. I'm just so hungry." She was 9 years old. Same age Molly would have been. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe and follow Clara's journey to the very end. Drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The oats were for the horses. Eli knew that before he even raised the lantern. Knew it the way a man knows his own land after 20 years, every sound, every shadow, every wrong thing that didn't belong. He'd heard something scraping in the feed bin at 4 in the morning. Thought it was rats, maybe a raccoon bold enough to brave the cold. It was a child. She was crouched in the corner of his barn, small as a wounded animal, scooping dry oats into her mouth, with fingers that had gone past purple into something worse. White at the tips. Frostbitten. The kind of damage that didn't heal right. Eli's breath caught. "Don't move," he said. The girl froze. Her eyes huge and dark, in a face too thin, locked on the rifle he carried. She'd been crying at some point. The tear tracks had frozen on her cheeks, little lines of ice that cracked when she tried to speak. "Please, mister." Her voice came out wrong, hoarse, like she hadn't used it in days. "I ain't stealing. I said don't move." She went still. Completely still, the way prey animals do when they know running won't help. Eli stepped closer. The lantern light caught more details. A dress that had been blue once, now gray with dirt and worn thin as paper. No coat. A shawl with more holes than fabric wrapped around shoulders that were nothing but bone. Bare feet, dear God, bare feet in January, tucked under her like she was trying to hide them. She couldn't have been more than 9. "Where are your shoes?" he asked. The question seemed to confuse her, like she'd expected violence and didn't know what to do with anything else. "Sold them," she whispered. "Last week. For bread." "In this weather?" "Yes, sir." Eli felt something twist in his chest. Something he'd spent 4 years trying to bury. "Where are your folks?" "Dead." She said it flat. No emotion. The way you say something when you've said it so many times, it doesn't hurt anymore. "Stagecoach robbery. September." "September? You've been alone since September." "No, sir. My uncle took me in." "Then where's your uncle?" The girl's hand moved to her left arm. Instinctive. Protective. Eli had seen that gesture before in his years as a Texas Ranger. Seen it on women whose husbands drank too much. On children whose fathers believed in discipline that left marks. "He's in town," she said carefully. "Silver Creek." "That's 8 miles from here." "Yes, sir." "You walked 8 miles in this cold. No shoes, no coat." She nodded once. "Why?" The girl's jaw tightened. For a moment, something flickered in those dead eyes. Something that might have been anger or fear or both. "He said I was eating too much. Said he couldn't afford to keep feeding someone who didn't earn their food. So he threw you out." "No, sir." Her voice went smaller. "I ran 3 nights ago." Eli processed this. 3 nights. In January. Temperature hadn't been above 0 in a week. "How are you alive?" "Barns mostly. Yours is warm." She looked at the feed bin, then back at him. Shame crawled across her face. "I'm sorry about the oats. I was gonna leave before dawn. Before you knew. You're starving." "Yes, sir." Eli lowered the rifle, slowly, so she could see it wasn't pointed at her anymore. The girl watched every movement, like her life depended on reading him right. Maybe it did. "What's your name?" he asked. "Clara. Clara Webb." "How old are you, Clara?" 9. 10 in April." Same age Molly would have been. The thought came unbidden, sharp as a knife. Can you walk? Clara tried to stand. Her legs buckled immediately. She caught herself on the hay bale, face tight with humiliation. My feet don't work right no more, she admitted. Since yesterday. Frostbite. Serious frostbite. Eli had seen it during the war, seen men lose toes and fingers and worse. He made a decision. I'm going to pick you up now. Don't fight me. Clara's eyes went wide. Why? Because you're dying, and I'm not going to let that happen in my barn. He lifted her before she could argue. She weighed nothing. Maybe 50 pounds, maybe less. All bones and fear and cold. She didn't struggle. The cabin was warm. Clara felt it hit her face when he kicked open the door heat that seemed impossible after so many days of cold. Real heat from a real fireplace with real logs burning steady and bright. She started shaking. Couldn't stop. That's good, the man said, setting her in a chair by the fire. Means you're not too far gone. Keep shaking. He moved around the kitchen with the ease of someone who'd done it alone for years. Coffee went on the stove. Water heated in a pot. He pulled blankets from somewhere thick one's wool, the kind that cost money, and wrapped them around her without asking permission. Clara watched him. He was old, maybe 50, maybe more. Face weathered like leather left too long in the sun. Hands scarred across the knuckles, the kind of scars that came from fighting. But his eyes weren't cruel. That's what confused her. She knew cruel. Had learned to read it in the set of a man's jaw, the tightness around his mouth, the way his hands moved before they struck. This man didn't have it. What's your name? She asked. Her voice worked better in the warm. Eli McAllister. You live here alone? I do now. She heard something in those 3 words, a wound that hadn't healed. I'm sorry about the oats, she said again. I can work to pay you back. I'm small, but I'm strong, and I learn fast, and hush. He knelt in front of her, took her right foot in his hands. His touch was gentle. Too gentle for hands that big. I need to look at these. It's going to hurt. It did hurt. Fire and ice at the same time as blood tried to move where blood hadn't moved in too long. Clara bit her lips so hard she tasted copper. 3 toes got it bad, Eli said. Not black yet, though. That's good. You might keep them. And if I don't, then you don't. And you learn to walk different. He looked up at her. You're not going to die, Clara. Not tonight. Not in my house. She didn't know why that made her cry. She'd stopped crying weeks ago. Crying didn't help. Crying just made Uncle Harlan angrier. But the tears came anyway. Eli didn't tell her to stop. He just kept working on her feet, wrapping them in warm cloths, handling her like she was something worth being careful with. Nobody had been careful with her in a long time. He made her food. Eggs and bacon and bread with butter. Real butter, not the rancid stuff Uncle Harlan kept in the back of his shop. Coffee with so much milk and sugar, it barely tasted like coffee at all. Clara tried to eat slow. She really did. Her hands wouldn't listen. She shoveled food into her mouth like it might disappear, like someone might take it away if she didn't finish fast enough. The eggs were hot and rich and tasted like something from a dream she'd forgotten she could have. When the plate was empty, she looked up. Eli was watching her. When's the last time you ate proper? He asked. Clara thought about it. Really thought. Before Ma and Pa died, I guess. That's 4 months. Uncle Harlan said food was expensive, said I had to earn it. And how were you supposed to do that? Work, in his shop, clean the floors, stock the shelves, count the pills. She picked at a thread on the blanket. But I was never fast enough, never good enough, so most nights I didn't eat. Eli's jaw tightened. He beat you too. It wasn't a question. Clara touched her left arm again. The burn was hidden under her sleeve. 3 weeks old, shaped like the iron poker Uncle Harlan had heated in the fire. Not beat exactly, she said. Punished, for being ungrateful. Punished how? She didn't answer. Clara. He burned me. The words fell out before she could stop them. When I dropped a bottle of laudanum. Said I owed him $3 for it. Said I'd remember the debt better if it hurt. Eli stood up so fast the chair scraped back. For one terrible second, Clara thought she'd made him angry. Thought she'd said the wrong thing, and now he'd hurt her too. Instead, he walked to the window, stood there with his back to her hands, braced against the frame, shoulders tight. Your uncle, he said finally. What's his name? Harlan Webb. He owns the apothecary in Silver Creek. Webb. Eli turned around. His face had gone hard in a way it hadn't been before. I know him. Sells laudanum to minors who can't afford doctors. Charges twice what it's worth. He's not a good man. No, he's not. But he's my legal guardian. Clara's voice dropped. He has papers, signed by a judge. Says I belong to him until I'm 18. Papers don't mean he owns you. Don't they? Eli crossed back to her, knelt down again so they were eye to eye. Here's what's going to happen, he said. You're going to sleep in a real bed tonight. Tomorrow, you're going to eat breakfast. Day after that, we'll figure out what comes next. What about Uncle Harlan? He won't find you here. But if he does, then he'll answer to me. Clara searched his face, looking for the lie, looking for the moment when the kindness turned to something else. She couldn't find it. Why are you helping me? She whispered. You don't even know me. Eli was quiet for a long moment. Something moved behind his eyes, pain old and deep. I had a daughter, he said. Molly. She died 4 years ago. Diphtheria. I'm sorry. She was 9 years old, same as you. He paused. I couldn't save her. I tried everything and I couldn't save her. So you're saving me instead? No. Eli shook his head. You're not her replacement, Clara. You're not anybody's replacement. You're just a child who walked 8 miles in the cold because the person who was supposed to protect you hurt you instead. And I'm a man with a warm house and enough food for 2. He stood up. You can stay as long as you need. Work if you want to, I won't force you. Learn what I can teach or don't. When spring comes, if you want to leave, I'll help you get wherever you're going. Clara stared at him. Or, Eli said quietly, you can stay forever. The word hung in the air. Forever. I don't understand, Clara said. I'm not asking you to decide tonight. Just asking you to know it's an option. He moved toward a door off the main room. Bed's through here. Was my daughter's. Nobody's used it since. Clara followed him on unsteady legs. The room was small but clean. A quilt on the bed, faded but warm. A window that looked out at mountains she could barely see in the dark. On the nightstand, a photograph. A girl about her age, dark hair, smiling. That's Molly, Eli said from the doorway. You don't have to look at it if you don't want to. I can take it down. No. Clara touched the frame. She looks kind. She was. Was she brave? When she had to be. Clara turned around. I don't think I'm brave. I just ran. I didn't fight or stand up or do anything good. I just ran. Eli looked at her for a long moment. Clara, you walked 8 miles through snow that would have killed a grown man. You slept in barns and ate horse feed and kept breathing when everything in you must have wanted to stop. His voice went rough. That's not cowardice. That's the bravest damn thing I've seen in years. He closed the door gently. Clara stood in the quiet room. Alone, but not unsafe. Cold fading from her bones for the first time in months. She climbed into the bed. The sheets smelled like cedar and dust, and something else, lavender, maybe faint and old, from a time when someone had cared enough to make things smell nice. Clara pulled the quilt up to her chin. She didn't believe in forever, didn't believe in kindness that lasted, or promises that held, or men who meant what they said, But for tonight, she was warm. For tonight, that was enough. Morning came gray and quiet. Clara woke confused. The ceiling was wrong. The bed was too soft. For one terrible moment, she thought she'd imagined everything: the barn, the food, the man who'd carried her inside like she mattered. Then she smelled coffee. She sat up. Her feet screamed when they touched the floor, but they held her weight. The bandages Eli had wrapped them in were stained pink in places. Not good, but not black either. She could walk. Barely. She made it to the kitchen. Eli was at the stove, his back to her. Eggs again. Bacon. The good kind, thick-cut, sizzling in its own fat. "Sit," he said without turning around. "Don't put weight on those feet more than you have to." Clara sat. He brought her a plate. Twice as much food as last night. She stared at it. "I can't eat all this." "Then eat what you can." He sat across from her with his own plate smaller than hers. "Your body needs rebuilding. Going to take time." They ate in silence for a while. "I want to work," Clara said finally. "Whatever you need done. I'm good with animals. Pa used to say I had a gift with horses." "Did he now?" "He bred them, before the robbery. Had a whole string of Mustangs he was breaking for the cavalry." Her throat tightened. "They took everything. The horses, the money, Ma's wedding ring. Pa tried to stop them and they shot him. Then Ma, because she was screaming." Eli set down his fork. "I'm sorry, Clara." "Everyone's sorry. Doesn't bring them back." "No, it doesn't." Uncle Harlan wasn't sorry. He was glad. The words came out bitter. "Said their land was his now. Said I was just another mouth to feed. He sold the horses, Eli. Every last one. Used the money to pay off his debts. Didn't give me a cent. The land, too. Still in my name, I think, until I'm 18. But he controls it. Controls everything." Clara looked at her plate. "He's not going to let me go. I know too much about his business." "What kind of business?" Clara hesitated. "You can tell me, or not. Your choice." "He waters down the medicines, cuts laudanum with sugar water and charges full price. And he's got a deal with some men in Denver. They bring him things I don't know what, and he sells them out the back." "What kind of men?" "The kind who carry guns and don't smile." Eli leaned back. "Your uncle's not just mean, Clara. He's crooked." "I know." "And he's going to come looking for you." "I know that too." "Doesn't scare you." Clara met his eyes, held them steady even though everything in her wanted to look away. "I'm done being scared of him, scared of being cold, scared of being hungry." She lifted her chin. "If he comes, I'll tell everyone what he's doing. Tell the marshal, tell the judge, tell whoever'll listen. I don't care anymore." Something shifted in Eli's face. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. "You got more spine than most grown men I've known," he said. "Spine doesn't stop bullets." "No, but it helps you stand up when you've got no business standing." He pushed back from the table. "Come on, I'll show you the horses." The barn was warmer in daylight. Clara followed Eli past the feed bin where he'd found her. She didn't look at it to the back stalls where 3 horses stood waiting. "That's Moses," Eli said, pointing to a bay gelding with a white blaze. "Steady as they come. Good for pulling." Moses nickered softly. "The gray's Delilah. She's got opinions. Don't take offense if she ignores you at first." Delilah flicked her tail and looked away. "And this one?" Eli stopped at the last stall. Inside, a black mare paced head-high, nostrils flaring. "This one's trouble." Clara stepped closer. The mare's eyes rolled white. "Don't." Eli caught her arm. "She'll take your fingers off." "What's her name?" "Doesn't have one yet. Brought her in last month, wild as they come. Can't get near her without her trying to kill something." Clara studied the horse. The way she moved all contained energy, all fear, masquerading as anger. "She's not mean," Clara said. "She's scared." "Scared horses are dangerous horses." So are scared people. Clara looked at Eli. But you still let me in. He was quiet. Can I try? Clara asked. Not today. My feet won't hold me. But when I'm better, can I try with her? Eli looked at the wild mare, then at the girl. Two creatures with more broken than whole between them. We'll see, he said finally. It wasn't no. Clara would take it. 3 days passed. Clara's feet started to heal. The color came back pink instead of purple. She could walk without wincing then, without limping, then, almost normal if she didn't push too hard. She worked. Not because Eli made her, because she needed to. Needed to feel useful, needed to prove she wasn't charity, needed to do something with her hands, besides remember. She gathered eggs each morning. 6 hens, brown and red and speckled, clucking their disapproval when she reached into their nests. She learned their names. Eli had named them after women he'd known, and Clara didn't ask if they were living or dead. She helped with feeding. Measured oats for the horses, hay for the cow, scraps for the chickens. She learned the rhythm of a working farm, the way each day built on the last, the satisfaction of a task done right. Eli taught her to split kindling on the 4th day. Not strength, he said, positioning her hands on the small axe. Timing. Read the grain. See where it wants to break. Clara swung. The wood split clean. Good. Eli's voice carried something warm. Again. She split another. And another. Her arms ached by the time she'd filled the basket, but it was a good ache. Honest. That night, reading by lamplight a book of fairy tales she'd found on a shelf, Clara asked the question she'd been holding back. What happens when he comes? Eli looked up from the harness he was mending. Your uncle. He'll figure out where I am. Someone will talk. Someone always talks. Then we'll deal with it. How? Eli set down his work. The law's supposed to protect children, Clara, even from blood relations who hurt them. The law gave me to him in the first place. Different judge. Same law. She wasn't wrong. Eli knew she wasn't wrong. There's a circuit judge coming through next month, he said. Name's Abigail Stone. Fair woman. Lost her own son years back, so she understands about children. If your uncle tries something legal, we'll counter it legal. And if he tries something not legal, Eli met her eyes. Then I'll handle it my way. Clara didn't ask what that meant. She didn't have to. I don't want you to get hurt because of me, she said quietly. Little late for that. What do you mean? Eli was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rougher than she'd heard it. 4 years ago, I watched my daughter die. Couldn't do a damn thing but hold her hand while the fever took her. He looked at the fire. After that, I figured I was done. Done with caring. Done with hoping. Done with anything except getting through each day. What changed? Found a half-frozen girl in my barn who reminded me that giving up is easy. Surviving is the hard part. He looked at her. You survived, Clara. Whatever comes next, you've already proved you can do the hardest thing there is. Clara's throat closed up. I don't feel brave. Brave people never do. She went to bed that night thinking about courage, about the difference between running away and running toward, about a wild black mare who was scared and mean and maybe, just maybe, worth saving, about forever. On the 7th day, Harlan Webb came to Silver Creek. Clara didn't see him arrive, but she heard about it. Eli had gone into town for supplies, flour, coffee, the kind of errands that couldn't wait. He'd told Clara to stay inside bar, the door not answer for anyone she didn't know. She'd obeyed. But when he came back, his face was set in lines she hadn't seen before. He's here, Clara said. Not a question. He's here, staying at the boarding house, asking questions. Eli set the supplies on the table harder than necessary. Half the town's already talking. What are they saying? That you're disturbed. That you ran off because you're troubled. That your uncle's a respectable businessman. just trying to do right by his brother's child. Clara's hands clenched. They believe him. Some do. The ones who buy their medicine from him. The ones who owe him money. Eli's jaw tightened. Harlan Webb's got hooks in this town, Clara. Deeper than I knew. So what do? We wait. He can't take you without a court order, and Judge Stone won't be here for 3 weeks. Until then, you stay close. Don't go into town. Don't let anyone see you who might talk. Hide, you mean? Survive. Clara looked out the window at the mountains, cold and distant and indifferent to whatever happened in the valley below. I'm tired of hiding, she said. I know. I'm tired of being afraid. I know that too. When Judge Stone comes, what happens? Eli moved to stand beside her. We tell the truth, all of it. The burns, the starvation, the beatings. Doc Reeves has seen your feet, seen the scars on your arms. That's evidence. Evidence against evidence. Your uncle's got papers. We've got proof. He put a hand on her shoulder. Light. Careful. It won't be easy. He'll say things about you about me. Try to make us look bad. What kinds of things? That I'm using you for labor. That I'm an old man trying to replace my dead daughter with someone else's living one. That I've got no business raising a child alone. Clara turned to look at him. Is any of that true? Eli was quiet. The labor part, no. I'm teaching you. There's a difference. And the other part, about Molly. His hand tightened on her shoulder, then released. When I first saw you in that barn, I won't lie, I thought of her. Same age, same dark hair. For a second, just a second, my heart forgot she was gone. He exhaled. But Clara, you're not Molly. You've got your own way of moving your own stubborn chin, your own fight in you that's nothing like hers. Does that bother you? No. He smiled just slightly. It helps, because I'm not trying to bring her back. I'm trying to give you a chance to be you. Clara felt tears prick her eyes. She blinked them away. What if I'm not good enough? What if the judge doesn't believe us? What if Uncle Harlan wins and I have to go back and... Stop! Eli's voice went firm. Stop asking what if. Ask what now. What are you going to do now today, this moment? Clara steadied herself. Gather eggs, milk the cow, split kindling. And get stronger. So when the time comes, I can stand up straight and tell the truth and not let him make me small again. Eli nodded. That's my girl. The words hit Clara somewhere deep. Somewhere she'd thought had been killed off months ago. She didn't cry. But she wanted to. That night, Clara dreamed of horses running. Wild horses black as midnight manes streaming like smoke. She ran with them barefoot on frozen ground, and her feet didn't hurt. The wind screamed past her face, and she wasn't cold. She was free. When she woke, the dream faded, but the feeling stayed. Whatever came next, she wasn't alone anymore. And for the first time since September, Clara Webb dared to hope. 2 weeks passed like that. Clara learning, Eli teaching. The rhythm of honest work building something neither of them wanted to name yet. Then Marshal Frank Tillman rode up on a Tuesday morning. Clara was in the chicken coop when she heard the horse. She froze, hands still cupped around a warm egg heart slamming against her ribs. Easy. Eli's voice came from outside. It's Frank. He's a friend. Clara didn't move. Clara, come out. It's all right. She came out slowly. The marshal was still mounted, a big man with a silver star on his coat and tired eyes that had seen too much of everything. So this is her, Tillman said. This is Clara. She know why I'm here. I reckon she can guess. Clara's hands tightened on the egg basket. Uncle Harlan sent you. Tillman shook his head. Nobody sends me anywhere, girl. But yeah, he filed a report. Says you're a runaway. Says he's got legal custody. He looked at Eli. Says you're harboring her against his wishes. She came to me half dead, Frank, frostbitten, starving. Burns on her arms from where he punished her. He says those are lies. Doc Reeves examined her. Doc Reeves ain't here right now. Tillman's voice stayed level. I am. And I got a court order in my pocket says I'm supposed to bring her back to town for questioning. Clara's knees went weak. Questioning, Eli repeated. Not custody. Not yet. Judge Stone wants to hear both sides before she rules. That's fair, ain't it? Eli stepped forward. Something changed in his posture, subtle but dangerous. Clara remembered what he'd told her about his past. 20 years as a Texas Ranger. Men who crossed him didn't cross him twice. And if I say no, then I got a problem. Tillman didn't flinch. And you got a bigger one. Eli, I know what you're doing here. I respect it. But the law's the law, and Harlan Webb's screaming loud enough that half the town thinks you've gone crazy. Half the town can go to hell. Maybe. But Judge Stone's the one who matters. Tillman looked at Clara. Girl, I ain't gonna drag you out of here. But if you don't come willing, your uncle gets to say you're unstable. Dangerous. The kind of child who needs to be locked up for her own good. Clara's stomach dropped. And if I do come, you get to tell your side, in front of the judge, in front of everyone. Tillman's voice softened just slightly. I've known Eli McAllister since we rode together in the Rangers. If he says you're worth protecting, I believe him. But you gotta help me, help you. Understand? Clara looked at Eli. He looked back, waiting for her to decide. Okay, she said. I'll go. Clara. No. She lifted her chin. I'm done hiding. You said so yourself. Surviving's the hard part. Well, I've survived. Now it's time to fight. Eli was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. I'm coming with her, he said to Tillman. Wouldn't expect anything else. The ride to Silver Creek took 2 hours. Clara sat in front of Eli on Moses, wrapped in a wool blanket, watching the town grow larger with every step. Her heart beat so hard, she could feel it in her throat. Whatever happens in there, Eli said quietly, you tell the truth. All of it. Don't let him make you feel small. What if nobody believes me? Then we find another way. But Clara, people aren't stupid. They see a child with scars and a man with smooth lies. Most of them know which one to trust. Most isn't all. No. But most is enough. Silver Creek looked the same as Clara remembered. The same muddy main street. The same false front buildings. The same apothecary on the corner with her uncle's name painted in gold letters above the door. She didn't look at it. Tillman led them to the courthouse, a 2-story wooden building at the end of Main Street. People stopped to stare as they passed. Clara heard whispers, saw pointing fingers, felt the weight of judgment from strangers who'd already made up their minds. She sat straighter. Inside the courtroom was smaller than she'd expected. Maybe 30 seats, most of them already filled. Judge Abigail Stone sat behind a raised bench at the front, steel gray hair, pulled back, severe spectacles perched on her nose. And, in the front row, Uncle Harlan. He turned when they entered. Clara's blood went cold. He looked exactly the same. Same pressed suit. Same gold watch chain. Same smile that didn't reach his eyes. He looked at her the way he always had, like property. Like something he owned. Ah, he said. There she is. My poor disturbed niece. Sit down, Mr. Webb. Judge Stone's voice cut through the murmuring. This isn't a family reunion. Harlan sat, but his eyes never left Clara. Eli guided her to a bench on the opposite side of the room. His hand stayed on her shoulder, steady and warm. This is a preliminary hearing, Judge Stone announced. Not a trial. I'm here to determine temporary custody while we investigate the claims made by both parties. She looked at Clara. Child, do you understand what's happening? Clara nodded. Yes, ma'am. Good. Mr. Webb, you filed a report claiming this girl is a runaway and that Mr. McAllister is holding her against her legal guardian's wishes. Is that correct? It is your honor. Harlan's voice was smooth as oil. Clara has been troubled since her parents' tragic death. She requires firm guidance, the kind only family can provide. And you believe you can provide that guidance. I've tried, Your Honor. God knows I've tried. But she's prone to fabrication, makes up stories about abuse that simply never happened. He shook his head sadly. It's a symptom of her condition. Doctors have a name for it. Hysteria, they call it. Clara's hands clenched in her lap. Mr. McAllister. Judge Stone turned her attention. You claim the child was abused in Mr. Webb's care. What evidence do you have? Eli stood. Doc Nathaniel Reeves examined her 2 weeks ago. Found evidence of malnutrition, frostbite, and burns consistent with deliberate injury. Burns? Harlan laughed. Your Honor, the child burned herself on the stove. An accident. I tried to treat it, but she ran away before I could get proper medical attention. She walked 8 miles in January with no shoes, Eli said. No coat. She was eating horse feed when I found her. Because she's disturbed. I told you. Enough. Judge Stone's gavel cracked once. I'll hear from the child herself. Clara approached the bench. Clara's legs shook as she stood. The walk to the front of the courtroom felt like miles. Every eye in the room tracked her movement. She stopped in front of Judge Stone. Look at me, child. Clara looked up. The judge's eyes were sharp but not unkind. I'm going to ask you some questions. I want you to answer honestly. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Did your uncle ever strike you? Yes, ma'am. When I didn't work fast enough. Did he feed you regularly? No, ma'am. Most nights I went to bed hungry. He said food was for people who earned it. And the burns Mr. McAllister mentioned. Clara pulled up her sleeve. The courtroom went silent. The scar was ugly. Pink and puckered, shaped unmistakably like the end of a fire iron. 3 weeks of healing hadn't softened it much. He did that, Clara said, because I dropped a bottle of medicine. He said I owed him $3, and I'd remember the debt better if it hurt. Harlan shot to his feet. She's lying. Your Honor, the child is mentally unwell. She harms herself for attention. Sit down, Mr. Webb. I won't tell you again. Harlan sat. His face had gone red. Clara. Judge Stone leaned forward. Why did you run away? Because he was going to do worse. Clara's voice didn't shake. He told me if I didn't start earning my keep proper, he'd sell me to a mining camp. Said men there would pay good money for a girl who knew how to work hard and keep quiet. The courtroom erupted. Judge Stone's gavel cracked 3 times before silence returned. That's a serious accusation, she said quietly. It's the truth. Can you prove it? Clara hesitated. She couldn't prove it. It had been just the 2 of them in the back room of the apothecary. Harlan's voice low and cruel, his hand tight on her arm. No, ma'am, but I'm not lying. Judge Stone studied her for a long moment. Then she looked at Harlan. Mr. Webb, this court finds sufficient evidence to warrant a full investigation. Until that investigation is complete, the child will remain in Mr. McAllister's care under a temporary guardianship order. Your Honor. Furthermore, you are prohibited from approaching the McAllister homestead or contacting Clara directly. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. She picked up her gavel. This hearing is adjourned. We'll reconvene in 3 weeks for final determination. The gavel fell. Clara's knees almost gave out. Eli was at her side, instantly steadying her. You did good, he murmured. Real good. But Clara wasn't looking at him. She was looking at Harlan. Her uncle stood slowly. His face had gone from red to white, the dangerous kind of pale that meant rage barely contained. He straightened his vest, adjusted his watch chain. When he spoke, his voice was quiet enough that only Clara could hear. 3 weeks, he said. Enjoy them, because when this is over, you're going to wish you'd died in that barn. He walked out without looking back. Clara started shaking. Outside the courthouse, the cold hit like a wall. Clara gulped air, trying to steady herself. The words kept echoing in her head. Going to wish you'd died. Clara. Eli's voice cut through. Look at me. She looked. He can't touch you. The judge said so. Paper don't stop bullets. Isn't that what you told me? Eli's jaw tightened. That was different. Was it? Before he could answer, a voice called out behind them. Mr. McAllister. They turned. A woman was hurrying down the courthouse steps. Middle-aged plain-dress Flower still dusting her apron. Clara recognized her Mrs. Ada Mercer, who ran the boarding house. I heard what that child said in there, Mrs. Mercer said, slightly breathless. About Mr. Webb. About what he threatened. Eli stepped forward. You know something. I know he's got men coming and going from his shop at all hours. Know he pays cash for things he shouldn't be buying. And I know, she lowered her voice, I know he's been talking to Jed Rollins. Eli went very still. Who's Jed Rollins? Clara asked. Nobody you need to worry about, Eli said, but his voice had changed, harder. He's trouble, Mrs. Mercer said. Runs with a rough crowd out of Denver. If Webb's dealing with him, it's not for anything good. Why are you telling us this? Mrs. Mercer looked at Clara. Something soft moved in her eyes. Because I had a daughter once too. And if someone had spoken up for her when she needed it. She didn't finish. Just watch your backs, both of you. She hurried away before they could thank her. The ride back to the homestead was quiet. Clara's mind kept spinning. Jed Rollins. Men coming and going. Her uncle's threats, low and vicious, meant only for her ears. Eli. Yeah. What if he doesn't wait for the court? What if he just takes me? Eli was quiet for a moment. Then he'll have to go through me first. That's what I'm afraid of. They crested the hill above the homestead. In the distance, Clara could see the barn, the cabin, the thin trail of smoke from the chimney. Home, or something close to it. I'm going to teach you something, Eli said suddenly. Starting tomorrow. More chores. No. Something else. He paused. You said your pa was good with horses. Said you had a gift. I said he said that. I don't know if it's true. We're going to find out. Eli's voice went firm. That black mare in the barn, the wild one, you're going to work with her. Clara's heart jumped. You said she was dangerous. She is. But so are you, Clara Webb. You just don't know it yet. They reached the homestead as the sun was setting. Clara was putting Moses in his stall when she heard it. A whinny from the back of the barn. High and sharp, almost like a scream. She ran. The black mare was pressed against the far wall of her stall, eyes rolling, white hooves pawing at the ground. Something had spooked her bad. Easy, Clara said, keeping her voice low. Easy, girl. What happened? The mare snorted, tossed her head. But she didn't charge. Clara stepped closer. I'm not gonna hurt you, I promise. I know what it feels like to be scared all the time, to think everyone wants to hurt you. She stopped at the stall door. But some people don't. Some people just want to help. The mare's ears flicked forward. That's it. See, I'm not so bad. Slowly, carefully, Clara extended her hand. Palm flat. Non-threatening. The mare sniffed. Then, so gently, Clara almost missed it. She bumped her nose against Clara's fingers. Well, I'll be damned. Eli's voice came from behind her. Clara turned. She let me touch her. I saw. He looked at the mare, then at Clara. Something complicated moved across his face. Your pa was right. You do have a gift. She's just scared, like me. That's why you understand her. Clara looked back at the horse. The mare had calmed now, standing quiet, watching Clara with something that might have been curiosity. What should I call her? She's your project, your choice. Clara thought about it. About her mother's Bible with the flowers pressed between pages. About running through the dark with nothing but hope keeping her alive. Hope, she said. I'm going to call her Hope. 3 days later, Clara started training in earnest. Eli watched from outside the stall while she worked. No touching at first, just presence. Just being in the same space, letting Hope get used to her smell, her voice, her movements. Horses are prey animals, Eli said. They read everything. Your heartbeat, your breathing, the way you hold your shoulders. If you're scared, they know. If you're lying, they know. So I can't fake it. You can't fake anything, not with horses. He paused. Not with people either, usually. Most folks just pretend they can't tell. Clara spent an hour in Hope's stall each morning, just sitting in the corner, talking softly, letting the mare adjust. By the 3rd day, Hope would approach her. By the 5th, she'd eat grain from Clara's hand. That's trust, Eli said. You earned it. How long until I can ride her? Months, maybe longer. I don't have months. Eli's face tightened. You've got 3 weeks until the hearing. Focus on that. But Clara couldn't stop thinking about what came after. If the judge ruled against them. If Harlan got custody. If she had to go back to the shed behind the apothecary, to the burns and the hunger and the fear. She worked harder. The 2nd week brought trouble. Clara was splitting kindling when a rider appeared on the ridge. Not Eli, he was in town getting supplies. Not Marshal Tillman, wrong horse. She dropped the axe, ran for the cabin. The door was barred by the time the rider reached the yard. Clara Webb. The voice was unfamiliar. Male, young. She didn't answer. I ain't here to hurt you. Got a message from your uncle. Clara pressed her back against the door. Her heart was beating so fast she could barely think. He says to tell you he's found a buyer. Says the deal goes through whether the court rules or not. The rider paused. Says you know what that means. Clara's blood turned to ice. A buyer. For her. He also says if you go to the marshal with this, the buyer disappears and nothing gets proved. But the deal still happens. Just later. The rider's horse stamped impatiently. That's the message. Have a nice day, miss. She heard hoofbeats retreating. Clara didn't move for 10 minutes. When Eli came back, she told him everything. His face went through several colors. Red, white, then something darker. Something she'd never seen before. I'm going to kill him, he said quietly. That won't help. It'll stop him. And then you'll hang, and I'll be alone again. Clara grabbed his arm. Please. We have to be smart about this. Eli looked at her. The rage was still there, burning behind his eyes. But something else too, grief, maybe. The helplessness of a man who'd already lost one daughter and couldn't bear to lose another. What do you want to do? He asked finally. Prove it. Find the buyer. Find the proof. Make it so the judge has to believe us. And how do we do that? Clara thought about Mrs. Mercer's warning, about Jed Rollins and the men coming and going from Harlan's shop at all hours. We need to get inside the apothecary, she said. There has to be records, ledgers, something that proves what he's doing. That's breaking and entering. It's survival. Eli was quiet for a long moment. I know people, he said finally, from my ranger days. People who know how to find things that don't want to be found. Can you trust them? With my life. He paused. With yours too. That night, Eli rode out alone. He didn't tell Clara where he was going, didn't tell her when he'd be back. Just said to bar the door, keep the rifle loaded, and don't open up for anyone she didn't know. She didn't sleep. Every sound was a threat. Every creak of the cabin settling was Harlan's men coming to take her. She sat in the chair by the fire with the rifle across her lap and waited for dawn. Eli came back just after sunrise. He looked tired, dirty, like he'd ridden hard through the night. But he was smiling. Found something, he said. What? My friend in Denver name's Mac. He knows Jed Rollins. Says Rollins runs girls to mining camps, the kind of camps that don't ask questions about where their workers come from. Clara's stomach turned. So it's true, what Uncle Harlan said. It's true. And Max says Rollins keeps records, names, dates, payments, insurance he calls it, in case anybody double-crosses him. Where are the records? Safe house outside Denver. But here's the thing. Eli's smile widened. Rollins is coming to Silver Creek this Friday, meeting with your uncle to finalize a deal. A deal for what? 3 girls, including you. Clara felt the world tilt. We can catch them, Eli said. In the act, with Marshal Tillman as witness. Your uncle goes to prison, Rollins goes to prison, and you never have to worry about either of them again. And if it goes wrong, then we fight our way out. Clara looked at the rifle still resting across her knees. Teach me to shoot, she said. Clara. You said I was dangerous. You said I just didn't know it yet. She met his eyes. Time to find out if you were right. Eli held her gaze for a long moment, then he nodded. Get your coat. We're going outside. The first shot nearly knocked Clara off her feet. Brace yourself, Eli said. Like this. He showed her the stance. Feet apart, shoulders square, rifle tight against her shoulder so the kick didn't slam into bone. She tried again. The second shot went wide, but she stayed standing. Better. Again. By the end of the morning, she could hit a tin can at 20 paces. Not every time, but enough. You're a natural, Eli said. I'm angry. That's different. Sometimes it's the same thing. Friday came too fast. Marshal Tillman arrived at dawn with 2 deputies Clara didn't recognize. Hard men with hard faces, and the kind of quiet competence that came from years of dangerous work. You sure about this? Tillman asked Eli. Sure as I've ever been about anything. And the girl? Clara stepped forward. I'm going. Like hell you are. She's the bait, Eli said quietly. Rollins is coming to inspect the merchandise. He needs to see her to close the deal. Tillman's face went dark. You want to put a child in front of men like that? I want to end this. Tonight. Forever. Eli looked at Clara. And she wants it more than any of us. I won't hide anymore, Clara said. I won't run. This ends now one way or another. Tillman was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. God forgive me if this goes wrong. They set up in the livery stable across from the apothecary. Clara could see the shop through a crack in the wooden slats, the gold letters of her uncle's name, the dark windows that hid God knew what. Remember, Tillman said quietly, we wait until money changes hands. That's when we move, not before. And if they spot us, then we improvise. The sun set. The town went quiet. At 9 o'clock, 3 riders came down Main Street. Clara recognized Harlan immediately. The other 2 were strangers, rough men in dusty coats with guns on their hips. One of them had a scar that ran from his eyebrow to his jaw. Jed Rollins. That's him, Eli murmured. The 3 men dismounted and entered the apothecary. Now we wait, Tillman said. The minutes stretched like hours. Clara watched the windows, saw shadows moving behind the glass, heard muffled voices too faint to make out words. Then the door opened. Harlan stepped out first. He looked around the street. Clara pressed herself back from the crack, then beckoned. Rollins followed. Where's the girl? His voice carried in the quiet. I ain't paying for something I haven't seen. She's being brought now. My man's fetching her from the boarding house. Harlan's voice was smooth as always. Beautiful child. Young. Strong. She'll last years in the camps. Clara's hands clenched. How much? Rollins asked. 200 for her. The other 2 are older, 150 each. Call it 500 for the lot. That's steep. Quality costs, Mr. Rollins. These aren't used goods. These are fresh. Clara thought she might throw up. $450, Rollins said. Final offer. Done. Money changed hands. Clara saw the bills pass from Rollins to Harlan, saw her uncle count them carefully, saw him smile that oily smile that had haunted her nightmares for months. Now, Tillman said. The door of the livery stable slammed open. U.S. Marshal, nobody move. What happened next happened fast. Rollins went for his gun. One of the deputies tackled him before he could draw. The other stranger bolted Eli clotheslined him with a rifle butt. And Harlan. Harlan ran. Clara, stay here. But she was already moving. She burst out of the stable and tore down the alley behind the apothecary. She knew this route, had taken it 100 times when she lived here, knew every turn, every shortcut, every hiding place. Harlan was heading for the horses. She cut him off at the livery's back door. He skidded to a stop when he saw her. For a moment, just a moment, something like fear flickered across his face. Then it was gone. Clara, his voice was calm, too calm. Get out of my way. No. I'm warning you. No. She raised the rifle Eli had given her. Her hands weren't shaking. It's over, Uncle Harlan. You're done. He laughed. You won't shoot me. You're just a child. I'm the child you tried to sell. Clara's voice was steady. I'm the child you burned and starved and threatened. I'm the child who walked 8 miles through the snow because death was better than staying with you. She stepped closer. And I'm the child who's going to watch you hang. Harlan's face twisted. He lunged. Clara pulled the trigger. The shot went wide. She'd aimed for his leg, but the kick threw her off, and Harlan crashed into her. They went down hard. His hands found her throat. Should have let you freeze, he snarled. Should have. Then he was gone. Eli had him by the collar, hauling him back, throwing him against the wall with a force that cracked wood. Give me a reason, Eli said quietly. Please, give me one reason to kill you right here. Harlan's eyes went wide. Marshal? One of the deputies came running. We got him. We got both of them. Tillman appeared behind him. Took in the scene, Clara on the ground, Eli with his hands around Harlan's throat, the rifle smoking nearby. Let him go, Eli. He touched her. And he'll pay for it, in court, the right way. Tillman's voice was firm. Let him go. For a long moment, Eli didn't move. Then slowly he released his grip. Harlan crumpled. Clara. Eli was at her side, instantly helping her up. Are you hurt? No. Her voice came out hoarse. I'm okay. You shouldn't have. I know. That was reckless. I know. I could have lost you. I know. She looked up at him. But you didn't. Eli pulled her against his chest. She felt his heart beating, fast and hard, the way hers had been for weeks. They stood there for a long moment. Behind them, Tillman was putting Harlan in chains. Harlan Webb, you're under arrest for human trafficking, conspiracy, assault on a minor, and about 6 other charges I'll figure out on the way to the jail. He yanked Harlan to his feet. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. Harlan didn't look at Clara. She was glad. They walked back to the main street. A crowd had gathered. People who'd heard the shots, who'd come out to see what the commotion was. They stared at Harlan in chains, at Rollins being loaded into a wagon, at the little girl standing next to the old rancher with a rifle still in her hands. Someone started clapping. Then someone else. Then the whole crowd. Clara didn't know what to do with that. Didn't know how to feel about strangers celebrating when an hour ago they might have looked the other way. Come on, Eli said quietly. Let's go home. Home. The word settled into Clara's chest like something warm. Okay, she said. They rode out of Silver Creek as the moon rose. Behind them, the town was still buzzing with noise and chaos. Ahead, the mountains stood silent. Clara leaned against Eli's chest and watched the stars come out. It's really over, she asked. The hard part is. What's the easy part? Eli was quiet for a moment. "Living," he said finally. "That's always the easy part. Once you've survived the rest." Clara closed her eyes. For the first time in months, she wasn't afraid. For the first time in months, tomorrow felt like something to look forward to. And somewhere in the dark barn at the McAllister homestead, a black mare named Hope was waiting. The news spread through Silver Creek like wildfire. By morning, everyone knew. Harlan Webb, respected businessman arrested for human trafficking. Jed Rollins, Denver's most wanted, caught red-handed with cash in his pocket and sins on his ledger. And at the center of it all, a 9-year-old girl who'd refused to stay silent. Clara woke to the sound of horses in the yard. She bolted upright, heart slamming. But Eli's voice came calm through the door. "It's all right. It's friends." She dressed quickly and came outside. Marshall Tillman was there, but so were others. Doc Reeves with his medical bag. Reverend Morrison in his Sunday black. Mrs. Mercer from the boarding house. Emmett and Sarah Cole from the neighboring ranch. A dozen people, maybe more, gathered in the cold morning light. "What's happening?" Clara asked. Eli put a hand on her shoulder. "They came to see you." Mrs. Cole stepped forward first. She was a sturdy woman with kind eyes and hands roughened by years of honest work. "We heard what you did last night," she said. "What you've been through, and we wanted you to know." Her voice caught. "We wanted you to know you're not alone anymore." Clara didn't understand. "We failed you," Reverend Morrison said quietly. "The whole town failed you. We saw the signs and looked away. Told ourselves it wasn't our business. That was wrong. We're here to make it right," Doc Reeves added. "Whatever you need, whatever the court requires, we'll testify, all of us." Clara looked at the faces gathered around her. Some she recognized, some she didn't, but they were all looking at her the same way, not with pity, but with respect. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything." Mrs. Cole reached out and took Clara's hand. "You already said enough. Last night, in that alley, you stood up when most grown men would have run." Eli's grip tightened on her shoulder. "Thank you," he said to the crowd. His voice was rough. "All of you. This means more than you know." The group stayed for an hour. Coffee was made. Stories were shared. Clara listened as neighbors who'd been strangers became something else. Witnesses, allies, family by choice, if not by blood. When they finally left, Clara stood in the yard watching them go. "They really came," she said, "just to say that. People surprise you sometimes." Eli stood beside her. "Not always in bad ways." "I thought they all believed Uncle Harlan." "Some did. Some were scared. Some just didn't want to get involved." He paused. "Fear makes cowards of us all, Clara. What matters is what we do when the fear passes." She thought about that. "Is my fear past?" "I don't know. Is it?" Clara considered. The terror that had lived in her chest for months, the constant waiting for the next blow, the next punishment, the next horror, it wasn't gone. But it was quieter now, smaller. "Not yet," she said honestly. "But it's getting there." That's all anyone can ask. The next 3 days were strange. Clara went through the motions of normal life, gathering eggs, helping with chores, working with Hope in the afternoons. But everything felt different. Like the world had shifted slightly on its axis, and she was still finding her balance. Hope noticed the change. The black mare had grown calmer in the weeks since Clara started working with her. She'd let Clara brush her, now even put a halter on without fighting. But she was still skittish, still prone to sudden spooks that sent her crashing against the stall walls. "Easy, girl," Clara murmured during one such episode. "It's just me." Hope's ears flicked. Her breathing slowed. "I know how you feel. I do. But we're safe now. Both of us." The mare snorted, unconvinced. Okay, maybe not completely safe, but safer than we were. Clara ran her hand along Hope's neck. And that's something, right? Hope bumped her nose against Clara's shoulder. Clara smiled. Yeah, that's what I thought too. On the fourth day, Judge Stone summoned them to the courthouse. Clara's stomach knotted the entire ride into town. The last time she'd been in that courtroom, Harlan had been there. Free, dangerous. Now he was in a cell awaiting trial, but that didn't stop her hands from shaking as she climbed the courthouse steps. Eli stayed close. Whatever happens, he said quietly, we face it together. I know. And Clara, yeah, I'm proud of you. The words hit her somewhere deep, somewhere that had been empty for a long time. Thank you, she whispered. Judge Stone looked different today, still severe, still steel-eyed, but there was something softer around the edges, something that might have been approval. Clara Webb, she said as Clara approached the bench. The circumstances of this case have changed considerably since our last meeting. Yes, ma'am. Harlan Webb has been charged with multiple felonies. His claim to guardianship has been revoked pending trial. Additionally, documents recovered from his shop have revealed the full extent of his criminal enterprise. Stone paused. Including detailed records of his plan to sell you to a mining camp operator. Clara's throat tightened. The evidence against him is overwhelming. He will not be released before trial. And if convicted, which seems certain, he will spend the rest of his life in prison. What does that mean for me? It means, Miss Webb, that the question of your permanent custody is no longer complicated by competing claims. Stone looked at Eli. Mr. McAllister has petitioned to adopt you. Formally. Permanently. Clara's heart stopped. She turned to look at Eli. He was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Hope and fear mixed together, waiting for her response. You want to adopt me? Her voice came out small. I want you to be my daughter, legal and proper. His voice was rough. If you'll have me. But, Clara struggled for words. But I'm trouble. I bring problems. People want to hurt me and... Clara? Eli stepped closer. I've spent 4 years running from grief, hiding from it, telling myself I didn't deserve to care about anyone again because caring meant losing and I'd lost too much already. His eyes glistened. Then I found a half-frozen girl in my barn who reminded me that living scared isn't living at all. You taught me that. You with your stubborn chin and your brave heart and your refusal to give up even when giving up would have been easier. He reached out, took her hand. I'm not asking because I pity you. I'm not asking because you remind me of Molly. I'm asking because you're Clara, and I can't imagine my life without you in it. Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. I want to say yes, she whispered. But I'm scared. Of what? Of losing this. Of losing you. Everything good I've ever had gets taken away. My parents, my home, my hope. She was crying openly now. What if something happens? What if you get sick or hurt or... Then we'll face it together. Eli's voice was firm. That's what family does. We don't run from the hard parts. We stand in them side by side, and we survive. You promise? I promise. Clara threw herself into his arms. Judge Stone cleared her throat. I'll take that as a yes. Clara laughed through her tears. Yes, yes, I want to be his daughter. Yes to everything. Then by the authority vested in me by the territory of Colorado, I hereby grant Eli McAllister full legal custody and adoption rights over Clara Webb, henceforth to be known as Clara McAllister. The gavel fell. Clara McAllister. The name rang in her ears like a bell. Welcome to the family, Eli said quietly. She hugged him tighter. The celebration that followed was small, but perfect. Doc Reeves brought a cake his wife had baked. Mrs. Cole brought blankets she'd been knitting for weeks. Reverend Morrison offered a blessing. Marshall Tillman toasted with coffee since nobody had anything stronger. Clara sat in the middle of it all, overwhelmed. "You okay?" Eli asked quietly. "I don't know how to feel this much." "You don't have to know. Just let it happen." She tried. It was harder than it sounded. That night, alone in her room, Molly's room now, her room, Clara found the old photograph on the nightstand. Molly's face smiled up at her, frozen in time, forever, 8 years old. "I'm not trying to replace you," Clara whispered to the picture. "I hope you know that. I hope you don't mind sharing." The photograph didn't answer, but somehow Clara felt like Molly would have understood. The next morning brought new challenges. Clara woke early dressed and headed to the barn to start her chores. But Eli was already there, standing outside Hope's stall with a strange expression. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." He stepped aside. "Look." Clara looked. Hope was lying down in the straw, not pacing, not panicking, just lying there calm and quiet, watching Clara approach with soft eyes. "She's never done that before," Clara breathed. "She trusts you now. Really trusts you." Clara knelt beside the stall door. Hope's ears flicked toward her, but she didn't rise, didn't startle. "Hey, girl," Clara murmured. "You feeling okay?" Hope nickered softly. "I think she knows," Eli said. "Animals sense things, changes in people and situations. She knows you're different now, settled." "I don't feel settled." "Give it time." Clara reached through the slats. Hope lifted her head, stretched her neck, and pressed her muzzle against Clara's palm. "I'm going to ride you someday," Clara told her. "When we're both ready, we'll run so fast the wind won't be able to catch us." Hope snorted like she was agreeing. "Soon," Clara promised. "Soon." But soon came faster than anyone expected. 3 days after the adoption, a stranger rode into Silver Creek. Clara was at the general store with Eli picking up supplies when the man came through the door. Tall, thin, clothes that had seen too many miles and not enough washing, eyes that scanned the room like he was looking for something, or someone. Those eyes landed on Clara. She froze. "That's her," the stranger said to no one. "That's the Webb girl." Eli stepped in front of Clara. "Who's asking?" "Name's Silas Granger. I work for Mr. Webb." "Harlan Webb's in jail." "Not Harlan." The man's lips twisted into something that wasn't quite a smile. "His brother, Marcus Webb, Clara's other uncle." The blood drained from Clara's face. "I don't have another uncle." "Your daddy had 2 brothers, girl. Harlan was the younger. Marcus is the eldest." Granger pulled a paper from his coat. "He's been in California these past 10 years, mining. But he heard about what happened. About the arrest, the adoption, all of it. And he ain't pleased." Eli didn't move. "What does he want?" "What's rightfully his. The girl, the land. Everything Harlan was supposed to manage for the family." Granger held out the paper. "This here's a legal challenge to the adoption. Marcus Webb is Clara's closest living blood relative. He's claiming custody." "That's impossible," Eli said. "The judge already ruled. The judge ruled based on the information she had, which didn't include Marcus Webb's existence." Granger's smile widened. "Funny how Harlan never mentioned his brother, ain't it? Almost like he had something to hide." Clara's legs went weak. "Not again. Please, not again." "When does Marcus plan to appear?" Eli's voice was cold. "He's on his way now. Should arrive within the week. The court's already been notified. New hearing scheduled for 10 days from today." Granger tipped his hat. "Have a pleasant afternoon, folks." He walked out. The silence he left behind was deafening. "Eli." "I know." Eli's jaw was tight. "I know, Clara, but this isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over." "How can another uncle just appear? How can he?" "I don't know, but we'll figure it out." Eli took her shoulders, made her look at him. "We beat Harlan. We'll beat this too." "What if we can't?" Then we run. Pack up everything we own and disappear into the territories. Start over somewhere nobody's ever heard of the Webb family." Clara stared at him. "You'd do that? Give up everything?" "I'd do anything to keep you safe." His voice was fierce. "Anything, Clara. Don't ever doubt that." She believed him. That didn't make her less afraid. The next 10 days were the longest of Clara's life. She couldn't eat, could barely sleep. Every sound made her jump. Every stranger in town might be Marcus Webb come to take her away. Eli sent word to Marshal Tillman. Tillman sent word to Denver. Denver sent back a thin file on Marcus Webb that made everything worse. "He's legitimate," Tillman said grimly, sitting at the McAllister kitchen table. "Born 1842, eldest son of William and Mary Webb. Went west during the gold rush, settled in California, made a fortune in silver mining." "If he's so rich, why does he want Clara?" Eli asked. "It's not about the money, it's about the land." Tillman spread out a map. "Your parents' homestead, Clara. 160 acres that sit right on top of what the railroad's calling strategic territory. They're planning to run a major line through this area within 5 years. So whoever controls that land controls access. Right-of-way, fees, easements, development rights. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next decade." Tillman looked at Clara. "Your father knew. That's why he filed the claim when he did, and Marcus knows it too." Clara felt sick. "It's always about the land, never about me." "That's leverage," Eli said suddenly. "What?" "If Marcus wants the land, he needs Clara. She's the heir. Without her, his claim is worthless." Tillman nodded slowly. "So we make it clear that Clara's not for sale, literally or figuratively." "But how?" Clara asked. "The law says blood family has priority. The judge said so herself. The law also says a child's welfare comes first." Tillman leaned back. "If we can prove Marcus is unfit, prove he's only after the money, prove he doesn't actually care about Clara, the judge might rule in your favor." "Might. It's the best chance we've got." Clara looked at the map, at the 160 acres her parents had claimed, at the future they'd tried to build before violence took everything away. "My pa used to say, the land remembers," she said quietly. "Remembers who works it, who loves it, who treats it right." "What's your point?" "Marcus Webb has never set foot on that property. He doesn't know the soil or the water or which direction the wind blows in winter." She looked up. "But I do. Or I could learn. If the land matters so much, maybe I should be the one to prove I deserve it." Eli and Tillman exchanged a look. "What are you thinking, Clara?" "The plowing ceremony. The one we never finished because of Harlan's arrest." Clara's voice grew stronger. "It's tradition, right? First furrow of the season, community witnesses pastor's blessing. Proof that whoever holds the land can actually work it." "That's just a ritual," Tillman said. "It doesn't have legal weight." "Maybe not, but it has community weight. And if I can show the whole town that I belong on that land, that I can work it with my own hands, maybe that matters more than blood." Eli was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Your pa would be proud of you," he said. "You think it'll work." "I think it's worth trying." He stood. "The hearing's in 10 days. The ceremony was supposed to be next week anyway. We'll move it up. Make it public. Make it impossible to ignore. And if Marcus Webb tries to stop us, then he shows his true colors in front of everyone." Eli's eyes went hard. "And we use it against him." The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. Clara worked with hope every morning, pushing harder than before. The mare was ready now, not fully trained, but calm enough to trust. Clara needed her, needed to prove she could handle a horse the way her father had. "Easy, girl," she murmured, slipping the bridle over Hope's ears for the first time. "We're going to do this together, you and me." Hope stood still, trembling slightly, but still. Good girl, that's it. Eli watched from outside the stall. You're sure about this, riding an unbroken horse in front of the whole town? She's not unbroken, she's scared. There's a difference. Clara stroked Hope's neck. Besides, everyone expects me to plow with Moses like a normal farmer. Showing up on a wild black mare nobody else can touch, that's a statement. It's also dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. Eli couldn't argue with that. The day before the ceremony, Marcus Webb arrived. Clara heard the commotion from the barn. Voices raised in the yard. Eli's sharp tone and another voice deeper with an accent that placed him somewhere far from Colorado. She walked out slowly. Marcus Webb looked nothing like Harlan. Where Harlan had been soft and oiled, Marcus was weathered. Hard. His face was creased by years of sun and wind, and his hands were scarred from labor. He wore a suit that had cost money, but he wore it like a man unused to fine things. He was looking at Clara with an expression she couldn't read. So, he said, you're Thomas's girl. Clara didn't answer. You've got his jaw, his stubborn chin. Marcus took a step closer. Eli moved to intercept, but Marcus held up his hands. Easy. I'm not here to cause trouble. Then why are you here? Clara asked. To see what all the fuss is about. His eyes swept over her, assessing. My brother's in prison because of you. Lost everything because a 9-year-old girl outsmarted him. He deserved worse. Maybe he did. Marcus's voice held no warmth. Harlan was always weak, always looking for the easy path. I told him years ago that business of his would catch up with him. You knew what he was doing. I suspected. Never cared enough to find out for sure. Marcus shrugged. We weren't close. Clara's hands clenched. So you come here now, after everything's done, to claim what's left. I come to claim what's rightfully mine. I'm not yours. The law says different. The law said I was Harlan's too. Look how that turned out. Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. You've got fire, he said. I'll give you that. I've got more than fire. Clara stepped forward. Tomorrow there's a ceremony. The whole town will be there. And I'm going to prove that I belong on my parents' land, that I can work it, care for it, honor what they built. A child's ritual means nothing. Then come watch. See for yourself what this child can do. Clara met his eyes without flinching. Unless you're afraid. Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then slowly he smiled. I'll be there, he said. And when you fail, because you will fail, I'll be waiting. He walked away without another word. Eli came to stand beside Clara. That was either very brave or very stupid, he said. Probably both. You ready for tomorrow? Clara looked toward the barn, where Hope was waiting. I will be. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat in Hope's stall instead, leaning against the mare's warm side, listening to her breathe. The rhythm was steady now, calm. A far cry from the wild, terrified creature Clara had first met. We've come a long way, Clara whispered. Both of us. Hope nickered softly. Tomorrow we show everyone what we can do, what we've become. Clara closed her eyes. And if we fail, at least we fail together. The mare shifted, pressing closer. Clara smiled. Whatever tomorrow brought, she wouldn't face it alone. And somehow that made all the difference. Dawn came cold and sharp. Clara was already dressed when Eli knocked on her door. She'd been awake for hours, running through every possible thing that could go wrong. Hope spooking, the plow catching on a rock, Marcus Webb standing in the crowd with that knowing smile waiting for her to fail. You ready? Eli asked. No. Good. Means you're taking it serious. They walked to the barn together. Hope was already alert, ears pricked forward, sensing the change in routine. Clara had braided her mane the night before, woven ribbons through it, the way her mother used to do for special occasions. "She looks good," Eli said. "She's nervous." "So are you. Doesn't mean either of you won't rise to it." Clara led Hope out into the yard. The mare danced sideways, snorting at shadows, but she didn't bolt, didn't panic, just moved with the excess energy of an animal who knew something big was coming. "Easy, girl." Clara ran her hand along Hope's neck. "We've got this." They rode toward her parents' land. The crowd was already gathering when they arrived. 50 people, maybe more. Faces Clara recognized, and faces she didn't. The whole town had turned out, drawn by curiosity or support, or the simple desire to witness whatever was about to happen. Marcus Webb stood at the front. He'd dressed for the occasion. Clean suit, polished boots, hair slicked back from a face that gave nothing away. Behind him stood Silas Granger and 2 other men Clara didn't recognize. Hired muscle, probably. Insurance in case things went wrong. Judge Stone was there too, seated in a wagon near the property line. Official witness. Whatever happened today would be on the record. Reverend Morrison stepped forward as Clara dismounted. "Folks, we're gathered here for the spring plowing ceremony. Tradition holds that whoever works this land cuts the first furrow of the season, blessed by God and witnessed by community." He looked at Clara. "Today we also witness something else. A child's claim to her birthright." Marcus shifted his weight. "This is absurd," he called out. "A 9-year-old girl can't work a farm. She can barely reach the plow handles." "Then let her try," Eli said. "What are you afraid of?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Marcus's jaw tightened. "I'm not afraid of anything. I'm being practical. The law says blood relation takes precedence. This little show doesn't change that. The law says a child's welfare comes first." Judge Stone's voice cut through. "And the law also says I get to determine what that welfare looks like. So I suggest you watch quietly, Mr. Webb, and let the girl have her chance." Marcus went silent. Clara's heart was pounding so hard she could barely think. "You don't have to use the plow," Eli murmured beside her. "We practiced with Moses. That's the safe choice." "Safe doesn't prove anything." "Clara, I'm riding Hope." She looked at him. "I'm showing them what I can do. All of it." Eli studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. "All right, but I'm walking beside you. First sign of trouble, we stop." "Deal." Clara led Hope to where the plow waited. It was her father's plow, the one Eli had retrieved from the old homestead weeks ago. The handles were worn smooth by years of use, and the blade still held an edge sharp enough to cut clean. Clara had never actually plowed with it. She'd practiced on Eli's land with his equipment. This was different. This was legacy. "You can do this," she told herself. "You have to do this." She harnessed Hope to the plow. The mare stood quiet, watching Clara with those dark, intelligent eyes. Trusting. Ready. "Here we go, girl." Clara took the handles. The plow was heavy. Heavier than she remembered. Her arms strained to hold it steady, and she hadn't even started moving yet. "Clara." Eli's voice came soft beside her. "Breathe." She breathed. "Now walk." She clicked her tongue. Hope stepped forward. The blade bit into earth. For one terrible moment, Clara thought it wouldn't work. The plow caught on something, a root, a rock resistance from ground that had been unworked too long. Her arms screamed. Her shoulders burned. Then it broke through. The furrow opened behind her, dark soil peeling back like a promise kept. Clara gripped the handles tighter and kept walking. One step, then another, then another. "That's it," Eli said. "You're doing it." The crowd was silent. 20 feet, 30. The furrow ran straight and true, better than Clara had any right to expect. Hope moved steady in front of her, calm and focused, pulling with a strength that belied her troubled past. 50 feet. Clara's vision blurred. Sweat or tears, she couldn't tell which. Her whole body ached. Every muscle she had was straining to hold the plow, to guide the blade, to prove she belonged here. 70 feet. "Enough!" Marcus called out. "She's proven nothing. Any farmhand could do what she's doing." Clara stopped. The crowd murmured. Marcus stepped forward. "The girl can plow a straight line. Congratulations. But working land is about more than furrows. It's about strength, endurance. The ability to do this day after day, year after year, for a lifetime." He looked at Judge Stone. "A child can't do that, no matter how many ribbons she puts in her horse's mane." "What would satisfy you, Mr. Webb?" the judge asked. "Let her finish the field." Marcus spread his hands. "The whole thing. 3 acres plowed clean by sunset. If she can do that, I'll withdraw my claim." Gasps from the crowd. "That's impossible," Eli said. "She's 9 years old. Then she's not ready to work this land." Marcus's smile was cold. "And I rest my case." Clara's hands were shaking. 3 acres, by sunset. Even a grown man would struggle with that, even with a team of horses and years of experience. It couldn't be done. "I'll do it." The words left her mouth before she could stop them. "Clara, no. I'll do it." She turned to face Marcus. 3 acres, by sunset, but if I finish, you don't just withdraw your claim. You sign away any rights to me or this land, forever. Marcus studied her. "And if you fail, then I go with you. No more court hearings, no more fighting." Clara's voice didn't waver. "You win." "Clara." Eli grabbed her arm. "You can't." "I have to." She looked at him with eyes too old for her face. "This ends today, one way or another. I'm tired of being afraid, Eli. Tired of waiting for the next person to come take me away. If I'm going to lose everything anyway, I'd rather lose it fighting." Eli's face crumpled. "You might actually lose. Then at least I'll know I tried." He was quiet for a long moment. The crowd held its breath. Then Eli released her arm. "All right," he said roughly. "But I'm staying right here, every step. I wouldn't have it any other way." Clara turned back to the plow. Hope was watching her with those dark, knowing eyes, waiting. "You ready, girl?" Clara whispered. "This is going to be hard. Harder than anything we've done. But I need you. I can't do it alone." Hope stamped one hoof. Clara smiled despite everything. "Let's show them what we're made of." The first hour was agony. Clara's arms burned. Her back screamed. The plow handles raised blisters on her palms that broke and bled and broke again. But she kept moving. One furrow after another. One step at a time. Hope never faltered. The mare pulled with a strength Clara hadn't known she possessed. When Clara stumbled, Hope slowed. When Clara needed to catch her breath, Hope waited. They moved together like they'd been doing this for years, not weeks. By mid-morning, 1/2 acre was done. "You're doing incredible," Eli said during a water break. "But you're burning too fast. Pace yourself." "Can't." Clara's voice was hoarse. "If I slow down, I won't finish." "If you collapse, you definitely won't finish." "I'm not going to collapse." She went back to the plow. The crowd had grown. Word had spread through Silver Creek and beyond. Farmers from neighboring towns came to watch. Miners from the hills. Families with children who pointed and whispered about the little girl trying to do the impossible. Marcus stood at the edge, arms crossed, watching, waiting for her to fail. By noon, 1 acre was complete. Clara's legs were shaking so bad she could barely stand. Her hands were raw meat wrapped around plow handles that had become instruments of torture. Every breath hurt. Every step was a battle. But she kept going. "Let me help," Mrs. Cole called out. "At least let me walk the horse." "No," Clara's voice cracked. "I have to do this alone. That's the deal." "The deal was inhumane," Doc Reeves said. "She's just a child." She made her choice. Marcus's voice was calm. Let her live with it. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly. Clara lost track of time, lost track of everything except the rhythm of step, pull, turn, step. Her world narrowed to the handles in her hands and the earth beneath her feet and the steady presence of hope in front of her. 2 acres done by 3 o'clock. 1 acre left. You can do this, she told herself. You have to do this. But her body was failing. She stumbled on the next pass, caught herself, stumbled again. The plow veered crooked, cutting a jagged line that ruined the furrow. Easy, Eli murmured suddenly beside her. You're okay. I'm not okay. Tears streaked through the dirt on her face. I'm dying. You're not dying. You're fighting. He steadied her shoulders. There's a difference. What if I can't finish? Then you'll know you gave everything you had. That's not enough. Sometimes it's all we've got. Clara looked at the field. Still so much left to do. Still so many furrows to cut. Her arms couldn't possibly lift the plow one more time. But they did. And again. And again. 4 o'clock. 4:30. The sun started its descent toward the mountains. Clara was moving on autopilot now. No thought, no feeling, just motion. Step, pull, turn. Step, pull, turn. Her body had gone past pain into something else. Numbness, maybe. Or the kind of determination that doesn't know how to quit. Hope was slowing too. The mare's breathing had gone ragged. Her coat was dark with sweat. But she kept pulling, kept moving. Refused to give up even when everything in her must have been screaming to stop. We're the same, Clara whispered. You and me. Too stubborn to know when we're beaten. Hope snorted weakly. 5 o'clock. 1/2 acre left. The crowd had gone completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They just watched the small figure behind the plow, still moving, still fighting, still refusing to fall. Even Marcus looked unsettled. She can't possibly, he muttered. She might, Silas Granger said quietly. That's impossible. So is everything else she's done. 5:30, 1/4 acre. Clara couldn't see straight anymore. The furrows blurred together. Her arms moved without her permission, guided by muscle memory and sheer desperation. Almost there. Eli's voice came from somewhere far away. Just a little more. A little more. She could do a little more. 5:45. The last furrow. Clara lined up the plow. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely hold the handles. Hope stood trembling in front of her, ready for one final push. Come on, girl, Clara whispered. One more. Just one more. She clicked her tongue. Hope stepped forward. The blade cut into earth. Clara walked. 1 step, 2, 10, 20. The furrow opened behind her straight and clean and perfect. 30 steps. 40. The end of the field. Clara let go of the handles. The plow fell to the ground with a thud that seemed to echo across the whole valley. She looked up. The sun was touching the mountains. Golden light spilled across 3 acres of freshly turned earth, dark and rich, and waiting for seeds that would grow into food that would sustain whoever worked this land. I did it, she whispered. Then her legs gave out. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. You did it! His voice was rough with tears. You crazy, beautiful, impossible girl. You actually did it. Clara tried to respond. Couldn't. Everything was going gray at the edges. She heard voices, cheering, crying, someone shouting her name over and over. But all she could see was Eli's face above her, wet with tears, proud and broken and overwhelmed. I did it, she said again. Then the world went dark. She woke in her own bed. For a moment, Clara didn't know where she was. The ceiling looked wrong. The light was different. Everything felt soft and warm and strange. Then memory crashed back. Eli. I'm here. His voice came from beside her. He was sitting in a chair looking like he hadn't slept in days. I'm right here. Did I? You finished. You collapsed at the end, but you finished. His voice cracked. 3 acres, Clara. By sunset. You actually did it. What about Marcus? He's gone. Gone? Signed the papers before he left. Eli held up a document. Official seal. Legal language. Marcus Webb's signature at the bottom. He withdrew all claims. To you, to the land, to everything. Clara stared. He just gave up. I don't think he expected you to succeed. Nobody did. Eli's eyes glistened. But when you finished that last furrow, something changed in him. I saw it. Like he finally understood what he was dealing with. What am I dealing with? Someone who doesn't know how to quit. Eli tucked the paper away. Someone who fights even when the odds are impossible. Someone who... His voice broke. Someone I'm prouder to call my daughter than I've ever been of anything in my life. Clara felt tears sliding down her temples into her hair. I couldn't have done it without hope. I know. Doc Reeves checked her out. She's tired but fine. Tougher than she looks. Like me. Exactly like you. Clara tried to sit up. Every muscle in her body protested. She groaned and fell back against the pillows. Don't, Eli said gently. Doc says you need at least 3 days of rest. You pushed yourself past any limit a body should go. I had to. I know. He took her hand. And I'm never going to forget it. None of us are. Clara closed her eyes. It's really over, she whispered. It's really over. No more Webbs. No more claims. No more people coming to take you away. Eli squeezed her hand. You're mine now. Legally, officially, permanently. Nothing can change that. Promise? I promise. She was crying again. Couldn't help it. All the fear and exhaustion and hope of the past weeks came flooding out in tears she couldn't control. Eli didn't tell her to stop. He just sat there, holding her hand, letting her feel whatever she needed to feel. When she finally calmed down, she asked, What happens now? Now. Eli smiled. Now we live. We work the land, both pieces of it, yours and mine, together. We raise horses and chickens and maybe some cattle if we get ambitious. We make this place into something your parents would be proud of. Our place. Our place. Clara let the words settle into her chest. Our place. Our home. Our family. I'd like that, she said softly. So would I. 2 days later, Clara was well enough to walk to the barn. Hope was waiting. The mare looked tired, still moving a little stiff, but her eyes were bright when she saw Clara approaching. She nickered softly and pressed her nose against Clara's chest. Hey girl. Clara wrapped her arms around Hope's neck. We did it. We actually did it. Hope snorted like she was agreeing. I'm going to give you so many treats. All the apples you can eat. All the grain. Anything you want. Spoiling her already. Eli's voice came from the barn door. She earned it. She did. He walked over, leaned against the stall. You both did. Clara stroked Hope's mane. I was thinking, she said slowly, about what Marcus said, about working the land day after day, year after year. What about it? He was right. I can't do it alone. Not yet. I'm too small, too young. She looked at Eli. But I can learn. And someday when I'm bigger, I'll be able to work both properties by myself. That's a long way off. I know. But I want to be ready. Clara's voice strengthened. I want to know everything. How to plow, how to plant, how to harvest, how to shoe a horse and mend a fence and read the weather. All of it. That's a lot of learning. I've got time. Eli smiled. Yes, you do. Will you teach me? Every day. For as long as it takes. Clara leaned against Hope's warm side. I keep waiting for something bad to happen, she admitted. For someone to show up and tell me it was all a mistake. That I don't really get to keep this. That feeling might never go away completely, Eli said gently. Trauma leaves marks. Some of them are visible, some aren't. But Clara, he moved closer. The bad things that happen don't get to define your future. Only you get to do that. How? By living. By choosing happiness even when it feels dangerous. By trusting that some things are worth believing in. He put a hand on her shoulder. I know it's hard. I know it takes time. But you've already proven you can do hard things. Clara thought about the plow, the furrows, the endless field that had seemed impossible until it wasn't. I guess I have. So keep proving it, one day at a time. That night, Clara sat on the porch with Eli watching the stars come out. The land stretched around them in every direction, dark shapes of mountains, pale ribbons of fences, the soft glow of the barn where Hope was sleeping. Eli, yeah, thank you, for everything. You don't have to thank me. I want to. Clara pulled her knees to her chest. You could have turned me away that first night. Could have sent me back to Harlan or called the sheriff or done any of 100 things that would have been easier. Easier isn't always right. I know, but you didn't have to help me. You chose to. Eli was quiet for a moment. When I found you in that barn eating oats like an animal, I saw something. His voice was rough. Not Molly, not a replacement for what I'd lost. I saw a child who'd been failed by everyone who was supposed to protect her. And I saw a chance to do something about it. Why did you care? Because someone should have. He looked at her. Because you deserved better. Because the world is full of people who look away from suffering, and I was tired of being one of them. Clara reached over and took his hand. I'm glad you didn't look away. So am I. They sat in comfortable silence. I've been thinking about names, Clara said eventually. Names for the homestead. Both properties together now that they're officially connected. She hesitated. What do you think about McAllister and Webb, to honor everyone, your family and mine? Eli considered. I think your parents would like that. And Molly. Something shifted in his face, softer, sadder. Molly would have loved you, he said quietly. She was always trying to bring home strays. Puppies, kittens, once a baby raccoon that nearly destroyed the kitchen, he smiled. She'd have taken one look at you and decided you were hers. Clara smiled back. I wish I could have met her. Me too. The stars wheeled overhead. We should get some sleep, Eli said eventually. Big day tomorrow. What's tomorrow? First day of the rest of our lives. He stood, offered her a hand. Come on, Clara McAllister. Time to go home. Clara let him pull her to her feet. Home. The word didn't feel dangerous anymore. It felt like a promise she was finally allowed to keep. Spring arrived like a promise kept. Clara stood at the edge of the combined property watching green shoots push through soil she'd plowed with her own hands. 3 months had passed since that impossible day. 3 months of healing, learning, becoming something she'd never thought she could be. You're up early. Eli's voice came from behind her. He walked up with 2 cups of coffee, handed her one. She took it without looking away from the fields. Couldn't sleep. Too much to think about. Good thoughts or bad thoughts? I don't know yet. Clara sipped the coffee, strong and sweet the way he always made it. Today's the day, isn't it? If you're ready. I've been ready for weeks. Today was the day she would ride Hope, really ride her. Not just walk around the paddock or practice in the corral. Today, they would run. You nervous? Eli asked. Terrified. Good. Means you're taking it serious. Clara smiled. He always said that. They walked to the barn together. Hope was already awake, pacing her stall with barely contained energy. She knew something was different. Animals always knew. Easy, girl. Clara unlatched the stall door. We've been waiting for this, haven't we? Hope nickered and pressed her nose against Clara's shoulder. I'm going to saddle you now. For real this time. Clara's hands moved with practiced ease, laying the blanket, settling the saddle, tightening the girth. And then we're going to show everyone what we can do. She led Hope into the yard. The mare danced sideways, snorting at the open space, the freedom she could feel coming. But she didn't bolt. Didn't panic. Just moved with the coiled energy of an animal ready to run. Remember, Eli said from the fence, you're the one in control. She trusts you. Trust her back. Clara gathered the reins. She'd mounted Hope dozens of times in the corral, walked her, trotted her, even cantered a few laps when no one was watching. But this was different. This was the open field. No fences, no boundaries, just Clara and Hope and the wind. She swung up into the saddle. Hope stood perfectly still. Good girl. Clara stroked her neck. We're going to take it slow at first. Nice and easy. She squeezed her legs gently. Hope stepped forward. Walk. Then trot. Then canter. The rhythm was familiar, comforting. Clara felt her body relax into the motion, felt the connection between her hands and Hope's mouth, her legs and Hope's sides. That's it, she murmured, just like we practiced. They reached the edge of the plowed field. Beyond it, open grassland stretched toward the mountains. Miles of nothing, room to run as far and as fast as they wanted. Clara's heart pounded. You ready, girl? Hope's ears pricked forward. Clara leaned forward in the saddle and let go. The world blurred. Hope exploded into a gallop, hooves pounding against earth manes, streaming like black fire. Clara gripped with her knees and let the mare run, felt the power surging beneath her, the freedom she'd dreamed about for months. They flew. Past the fence line, past the old oak tree, past everything Clara had ever known. The wind screamed in her ears, and tears streamed down her face, and she was laughing, actually laughing for what felt like the first time in her life. Yes, she shouted. Yes. Hope ran faster. Clara didn't know how long they galloped. Time lost meaning when you were flying. But eventually, Hope started to slow, her breathing heavy, her pace dropping from gallop to canter to trot. Clara pulled her to a walk. They'd come miles from the homestead. She could barely see the barn in the distance, a tiny dark shape against the green. We did it, Clara breathed. We really did it. Hope snorted and shook her mane. Clara leaned forward, wrapped her arms around the mare's neck. Thank you, she whispered, for trusting me, for letting me trust you. Hope stood still, breathing hard, accepting the embrace. They walked home slowly. Eli was waiting at the gate. Well, he called out. Clara was still grinning. Couldn't help it. She's perfect. We're perfect. I saw you from here. Thought you were trying to reach Denver. Maybe next time. Clara dismounted, her legs shaky from the ride. She led Hope into the barn, untacked her, brushed her down with careful hands. You earned a rest, she told the mare. All the oats you want. All the apples. Hope nuzzled her pocket, looking for treats. Clara laughed. I'll bring some later. Promise. That afternoon, visitors came. Marshal Tillman rode up first, followed by Doc Reeves and Reverend Morrison. Then the Coles. Then Mrs. Mercer. Then a dozen other people Clara had come to know over the past months. What's going on? She asked Eli. He just smiled. Come to the yard. Clara followed, confused. The crowd had gathered near the new sign they'd put up last week. McAllister and Webb Homestead, painted in careful letters, but someone had added something beneath it, a smaller sign, fresh paint. Clara's place. She stared. We figured the property needed a proper name, Mrs. Cole said. Something that honors everyone. The McAllisters, the Webbs, she smiled, and the girl who brought them all together. Clara's throat closed up. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep it. Reverend Morrison stepped forward. This community has watched you grow, Clara, watched you fight, watched you become something none of us expected. We're proud of you, Doc Reeves added. All of us. Clara looked at the faces around her. People who'd been strangers 5 months ago. People who'd watched her nearly freeze to death, nearly break under the weight of an impossible task, nearly lose everything more times than she could count. They were smiling. They were proud. They were family. Thank you, she managed. I don't deserve this. That's where you're wrong. Eli put his hand on her shoulder. You deserve this and more. You've earned every bit of it. The celebration lasted until sunset. Food was shared, stories were told. Children ran through the fields while adults talked about crops and weather and the ordinary business of living. Clara sat apart for a moment watching. Penny for your thoughts. Mrs. Cole had found her. I keep waiting to wake up, Clara admitted. Waiting for someone to tell me this isn't real. It's real. Mrs. Cole sat beside her. I know it's hard to believe. After everything you've been through, trust doesn't come easy. How do you know? Because I was like you once. Mrs. Cole's voice went soft. Ran away from a bad situation when I was 16. Spent years looking over my shoulder waiting for it to catch up. Did it? No, but the fear lasted longer than the danger did. She looked at Clara. That's the thing about surviving, child. The body heals faster than the heart. How did you stop being afraid? I didn't, not completely. But I learned to live with it. Learned to build something good despite it. Mrs. Cole smiled. And eventually the good outweighed the bad. Clara thought about that. You really think I can do that? I think you already are. After everyone left, Clara helped Eli clean up. That was too much, she said, stacking plates. All those people, all that fuss. They wanted to celebrate you. I didn't do anything special. Clara. Eli stopped, made her look at him. You survived things that would have broken most adults. You fought for your place in this world when everyone told you it wasn't yours to have. You plowed 3 acres in a single day on a horse nobody else could touch. That was just stubbornness. That was courage. His voice was firm. There's a difference between too stubborn to quit and too brave to give up. You're the second one. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. Clara's eyes burned. I'm scared it won't last, she whispered. Every good thing I've ever had got taken away. Ma and Pa, my home, my hope. What if this gets taken too? Then we'll face it together. You keep saying that. Because I keep meaning it. Eli crouched down to her level. Listen to me, Clara. I can't promise nothing bad will ever happen again. Life doesn't work that way. But I can promise I'll be here when it does. Every storm, every setback, every dark day that makes you want to give up. I'll be right here. Even when I'm difficult. Especially then. Even when I make mistakes. That's what parents are for. He smiled. Teaching you how to fix them. Clara threw her arms around him. He held her tight, and she felt something shift inside her chest. Not the fear disappearing, Mrs. Cole was right about that, but something settling over it. Like a blanket over cold bones. Like warmth in a place that had been frozen too long. Papa, she whispered. Eli went still. She'd never called him that before. Always Eli. Always the careful distance of someone who'd learned not to get too close. Papa, she said again, testing the word. His arms tightened around her. Yeah, he said roughly. Yeah, that's right. They stayed like that for a long time. The weeks that followed were full. Clara fell into a rhythm she'd never known before. Morning chores. School 3 days a week when Miss Eleanor Wright could make the trip out from town. Afternoon training with Hope. Evening lessons with Eli, reading arithmetic, the practical knowledge of running a homestead. She grew. Not just taller, though, that too. Stronger, more confident. The frightened girl who'd eaten horse feed in a stranger's barn felt like someone from another life. "You've gained 12 pounds," Doc Reeves said during a checkup in June. "Right where you should be for your age." "Is that good?" "That's excellent." He made notes in his file. "Frostbite damage is minimal. No lasting effects that I can see. Emotionally." He looked up. "How are you sleeping?" "Better. Still have bad dreams sometimes." "That's normal. Might go on for years." He closed the file. "But you're healing, Clara. Body and soul. That's all anyone can ask." Midsummer brought a letter. Clara found it on the kitchen table when she came in from the barn. Eli was sitting across from it, face unreadable. "What's that?" "Letter from the territorial prison. From Harlan." Clara's blood went cold. "What does he want?" "I don't know. Haven't opened it." Eli pushed the envelope toward her. "It's addressed to you." Clara stared at the handwriting. Neat. Precise. The same hand that had signed ledgers full of poison and documented lives bought and sold like cattle. "I don't want to read it." "You don't have to." "But I should." "Why?" Clara thought about it. "Because he can't hurt me anymore. And maybe—" She hesitated. "Maybe I need to know that for sure." She picked up the envelope. Her hands were steady as she opened it. Steady as she unfolded the single page inside. The letter was short. "Clara, I hope this finds you well. I imagine you think you've won. Perhaps you have. But know this, everything I did for family. For the Webb legacy. You may carry the McAllister name now, but Webb blood runs in your veins. Nothing can change that. One day you'll understand. One day you'll see that blood is thicker than circumstance. Until then, enjoy your victory. It won't last forever. Your Uncle Harlan Webb." Clara read it twice. Then she walked to the fireplace. "What are you doing?" Eli asked. "Ending it." She dropped the letter into the flames. They watched it burn together, the paper curling, the words disappearing, the last poisonous thread, connecting her to Harlan Webb, turning to ash. "Feel better?" Eli asked. "Yeah," Clara smiled. "I do." "Good." He stood. "Now come on, we've got work to do." Fall came golden and cool. Clara stood in the field, where she'd plowed 3 acres in a single day, watching the harvest crew work. Neighbors helping neighbors, the way it was done in places where community meant something. "Good yield this year," Emmett Cole called out. "Best I've seen in a decade." "The land knows when it's loved," his wife Sarah added. "Responds to care." Clara walked among the workers, helping where she could. Her hands were calloused now. Strong. The hands of someone who worked. "Miss Clara." A voice called from the road. She turned. A wagon was approaching, driven by a woman she didn't recognize. Beside her sat a child, a boy maybe 7, thin and dirty and scared. Clara's heart clenched. The woman pulled up at the gate. "This the McAllister place?" "It is." Eli had appeared beside Clara. "What can we do for you?" "Found this boy on the road 2 days back. Won't tell us his name. Won't tell us where he's from." The woman looked tired. "Someone in town said you folks might know what to do with him." Clara looked at the boy. He looked back. Eyes too old for his face. Posture tight with fear. Ready to run at the first sign of danger. She knew that look. She'd worn it herself not so long ago. "What's your name?" she asked gently. The boy said nothing. It's okay. You don't have to tell me. Clara moved closer to the wagon. Are you hungry? A slight nod. We've got food. Good food. And a warm place to sit while you eat it. She held out her hand. You want to come inside? The boy hesitated. Then slowly he reached out. His hand was small and cold and trembling. Clara helped him down from the wagon. Thank you, the woman said. I didn't know what else to do with him. You did the right thing. Eli's voice was warm. We'll take it from here. The wagon drove away. Clara led the boy toward the house. I'm Clara, she said. This is my papa Eli. We live here. The boy said nothing. You don't have to talk, not until you're ready. Clara squeezed his hand gently. But I want you to know something. Whatever happened to you wherever you came from, you're safe now. I promise. The boy looked up at her. Something flickered in his eyes. Not trust, not yet. But maybe the first tiny seed of it. Clara understood. That seed would need time to grow. Patience. Care. Someone willing to wait for it to take root. She could give him that. Inside Eli was already heating soup. You have a way with strays, he said quietly, while the boy sat at the table staring at the bowl in front of him, like it might disappear. Takes one to know one. Clara, I want to help him. She looked at Eli. The way you helped me. That's not a small thing you're asking. I know. She paused. But this place, Clara's place, shouldn't it mean something? Shouldn't it be somewhere lost? Kids can come and find what I found? Eli was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. When did you get so wise? Had a good teacher. They watched the boy eat, slowly at first, then faster the way Clara had eaten her first meal in this house all those months ago. We don't even know his name, Eli said. We'll learn it, when he's ready. And if he has family looking for him, then we'll help him find them. But if he doesn't, Clara's voice strengthened. If he doesn't, then he has us. The boy looked up. For the first time, something shifted in his face. Not a smile, but the ghost of one. The memory of what happiness might feel like. Clara smiled back. Winter returned. 1 year since Clara had stumbled into Eli's barn, half frozen, half dead, eating oats meant for horses. 1 year since everything changed. She stood at the window watching snow fall on fields that were hers now. Really hers. The adoption papers hung framed on the wall beside the photograph of Molly. The boy's name was Thomas. He'd told them 3 weeks after arriving, whispered it one night like a secret he'd been keeping too long. Thomas. Same name as Clara's father. She'd taken it as a sign. He was still scared, still quiet, still jumped at loud noises and flinched when hands moved too fast. But he was eating, sleeping, learning to trust. It would take time. Clara was patient. You're thinking too hard. Eli joined her at the window. I can hear your brain from across the room. Just remembering. Good memories or bad? Both. Clara leaned against his side. This time last year I was dying. Didn't know it, but I was. Not just my body, everything. My hope, my faith, my belief that the world could ever be good. And now I have everything I didn't know I needed. She looked up at him. A home, a family, a purpose. A horse. Clara laughed. A horse. They watched the snow fall. You ever regret it? Clara asked. Taking me in. Not for a single second. Even when I was difficult. You were never difficult. You were surviving. Eli's arm tightened around her. There's a difference. Mrs. Cole said the same thing. Smart woman. Thomas appeared in the doorway. Still thin, but less so. Still wary, but learning. Is it time for chores? He asked. Clara nodded. You want to help gather eggs? Can I? Course you can. Come on, I'll show you how the hens like to be talked to. She took his hand and led him toward the back door. Clara, Eli called. She turned. I'm proud of you. You know that, right? I know, Papa. She meant it. The chicken coop was warm despite the cold outside. Clara showed Thomas how to move slow, speak, soft, let the hens see. His hands were empty before reaching for eggs. They're scared of everything, Thomas whispered. That's because they're small. Small things learn to be scared. It keeps them alive. Are you scared? Clara considered. Sometimes, but not like I used to be. How did you stop? I didn't stop. I just learned to do things anyway. She placed an egg carefully in the basket. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and still moving forward. Thomas thought about that. I want to be brave, he said quietly. You already are. Clara smiled at him. You survived, Thomas. Whatever happened to you wherever you came from, you made it here. That's the bravest thing there is. His eyes filled with tears. Clara pulled him into a hug. It's okay, she murmured. You're safe now. I've got you. He cried for a long time. When he finally stopped, something had changed in his face. Like a weight had lifted. Like he'd finally put down something he'd been carrying too long. Can I stay? He whispered. Here forever. Clara's heart swelled. You can stay as long as you want, Thomas. Forever if that's what you need. Promise. Promise. They gathered the rest of the eggs together. That night, Clara sat on the porch despite the cold. The stars were brilliant, scattered across the sky, like promises waiting to be kept. She could hear Hope moving in the barn, settling in for the night. Could hear Thomas laughing inside at something Eli had said. She thought about the girl she'd been a year ago. Broken. Hopeless. Sure that love was a lie and safety was a myth, and nobody would ever want her for anything but what they could take. She'd been wrong. About all of it. The world was hard. She knew that now better than ever. Full of cruelty and loss and people who hurt others without remorse. But it was also full of people like Eli, like Mrs. Cole, like Doc Reeves and Marshall Tillman and all the neighbors who'd shown up when it mattered. It was full of horses named Hope and boys named Thomas and second chances that came disguised as disasters. The door opened behind her. Eli stepped out with 2 cups of cocoa. Thought you might want this. Thanks, Papa. He sat beside her. What are you thinking about? The future. Clara wrapped her hands around the warm cup. All the things we're going to build. All the kids we might help. That's a big dream. You taught me to dream big. Eli smiled. I taught you to survive. The dreaming was all you. They sat in comfortable silence. Clara? Yeah. Thank you. She looked at him surprised. For what? For choosing to stay. For trusting me when you had no reason to. For making this place feel like a home again. His voice was rough. I was dead before you came. Not my body, but everything else. You brought me back. Clara leaned her head against his shoulder. We saved each other, she said. That's how family works. The snow fell softly. Inside, Thomas was waiting. Tomorrow there would be chores and lessons, and the ordinary work of building a life. There would be challenges and setbacks, and days when everything felt impossible. But tonight, Clara was warm. Tonight she was loved. Tonight she was home. And that was enough. That was everything. Clara McAllister stood at the window of her farmhouse, watching the first light of spring touch land that had been saved by stubbornness and hope. Behind her, her family stirred. Ahead of her, a future she'd earned with blood and tears and refusal to quit. She'd come to this place a frozen, starving child, with nothing but the clothes on her back and the will to survive. She was leaving it. Not leaving, never leaving, but growing from it into something her parents would have been proud of. Something she was proud of. The land remembered the hands that worked it, And Clara McAllister's hands would work this land for the rest of her days, teaching everyone who needed to learn the same lesson she'd fought so hard to understand. Family isn't blood. Home isn't a place. Hope isn't foolish. And love, real love, the kind that shows up when everything falls apart and stays when the storm is over. Love is the only thing that can never be stolen, never be lost, never be taken away. Because once you find it, once you fight for it, once you decide it belongs to you and you belong to it, nothing in this world can break that bond. Not time, not distance, not death, not anything. Clara smiled as the sun rose. She had work to do.